Okay.
Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me here at Domaine Carneros. My name is Zach. I'm the sparkling winemaker at Domaine Carneros. And we thought that since you can't come visit us and taste with us here in our tasting room, that I could come to you and we'll hopefully have some fun, learn something while we're doing it. We're calling this our happy hour in the Jardin de Verre, and it's 2 p.m. here in the West Coast. Fortunately in Napa, it's always happy hour. It's 5 p.m. on the East Coast, and so it is happy hour. And then for our friends in Central or Mountain, I thought that if it's happy hour in Napa and it's happy hour in East Coast, if you're in between, you really get grandfathered in. So thanks for joining me. We're gonna talk about some Blanc De Blancs, but before we get started, I wanted to say a few things. We're still open with our call center and internet sales. You can find all our information at domainecarneros.com. Also, these are strange times, and it goes without saying that first and foremost, everybody should be safe, but it really, part of being safe is also being sane. If you're quarantined or in your house with your family members who you try to avoid most of the time, this is a great opportunity to get to know them, albeit by force, but in order to stay safe, we have to stay sane. And fortunately, I have two of my best friends here to help me show you how to stay sane. I have done some research in this area. It is not, as of yet, peer-reviewed or published in a scientific journal, but my research suggests that a bottle of Domaine Carneros sparkling wine a day keeps you sane. And this is the face of a sane person. All right, so we're gonna get started with our Blanc De Blancs. I have two Blanc De Blancs here to taste with you. Our 2015 Blanc De Blanc, made with 75% Chardonnay and 25% Pinot Gris. We'll talk about that one first, and then we'll move on to the 2012 our Tête de Cuvée Blanc De Blanc Le Rêve. Some of you, if you know our wines, you'll be very familiar with this one. This one's been around since 1992, and we'll talk about that one as well. So, also I want to say, if you have any questions, ask away. We'll try to monitor any questions, and I can ask them live if that works out. Hopefully it works out. This is our first go, so we'll see what works. Anyway, 2015 Blanc De Blanc. So a little history on this wine. We started making it in 2012. Chardonnay is really the backbone of a Blanc De Blanc, and the Pinot Gris is kind of something fun that we wanted to make. There are most people that are bubbleheads, and if you're here, you most likely are a bubblehead. Most people know the three big varietals of Champagne. Chardonnay is king, and there's Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. There are 7 allowable varietals in Champagne, and so there's kind of the 4 lost varietals. And over time, we have tried to play with some of these. We've used some Pinot Blanc in the past, and eventually, that kind of ran its course. And now we're on to our Pinot Gris. And Pinot Gris is extremely interesting. In a technical sense, I don't know that it's better than Chardonnay. Again, Chardonnay is the best, is king when it comes to method traditional sparkling wines. But the Pinot Gris really adds, lifts the aromatics and adds an almost tropical note to the wines, and so it's a lot of fun. And so both of these being Blanc De Blanc, but one having little bit of Gris in it, 25% to be exact, which makes it it makes it a light wine. It's still a Blanc De Blanc, still has 75% Chardonnay and all the seriousness that goes along with that. But there's a light, there's a lightness and a joy to the Pinot Gris that really takes it in another direction. So they'll be fun to taste side by side. If you have these wines at home, feel free to open them with me. I will be pouring you a glass if you don't, and you can taste it through telepathy if you want. So we'll start by opening the bottle. First thing you want to do is find the tab and remove the foil. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that for you club members out here, you just received this bottle. So you do have this, and even if you don't taste it now, you'll have some information when the appropriate time comes to taste it. I think we're going to be doing a lot more of these social media get-togethers, as well as encourage you to do them with your friends. You could always buy a bottle, send a friend a bottle, connect on your favorite social media site, and have a happy hour on your own. Okay, where was I? We removed the foil. We have the wire hood. 6 half turns of the wire hood will free it. Always keep a finger or a hand on the top of the cork. Never point it at yourself or anybody else. That's extremely important. You can remove the wire hood if you like. I choose to leave it because I find the wire hood gives you a little better grip on the cork. Sometimes without it, it's hard to get a firm grip on the cork, but that's really a matter of preference. Hand still on the top, and then you want to slowly start turning the bottle. And you can feel the cork starting to come up. Keep downward pressure on the cork. You know, we haven't won the World Series. We're not trying to pop the bottle and lose any of the precious juice inside. So you want to keep downward pressure, and right about now, aha. Release the pressure softly. A gentle sigh is best. Whatever you get, but try to avoid the pop. Here we go. 2015 Blanc De Blanc. You first. And then a little for me.
I'll help you with that.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay. On to tasting the wine. So, there's three things that we do when we make our sparkling wines that we're looking for. The first is the aromatics. This is, you're going to smell the wine. What does it tell you about what you're going to taste? It almost leads into the anticipation. The second part is when you taste it, the balance. Is the fruit balanced with the acidity? How does the wine work together? And then the third part is the finish. Does it carry on to the end? Does it beg you to take another sip, another glass, another bottle, whatever the case may be. Before we taste it, we probably want to put a bouchon on the bottle. So I have a couple bouchons here to show you. And the point of these is to preserve the bubbles for when you go back for another glass, or if you store it for another day. Not sure why you wouldn't finish the bottle that day, but it is entirely possible you finish the bottle, you open a second one, and then the bouchon will come in handy. At any rate, This one's pretty straightforward. You put it on and you get the clip underneath the lip of the bottle, and it holds it on, and it will contain the pressure in the bottle. I have a second Bouchon, which we'll show on the Le Reve. I think we'll just do that one on the second one. Let's talk about this wine. Okay, so in the aromatics, on the nose, there's, like I said, there's a light playfulness in this nose for a Blanc de Blanc, and that's really the Pinot Gris coming. There's the Pinot Gris will offer, you still get some of that classic honeysuckle, that, even some of the citrus that we get in our Blanc de Blanc from our Chardonnay, but that Pinot Gris, it offers up some tropical notes, and I think takes it in an entirely different direction. It's a lot of fun, but I like this nose. It tells me I'm going to enjoy this bottle. A little more of those tropical notes come through in the palate. I think there's some honeydew melon, maybe even some grilled pineapple, and if you close your eyes and hallucinate really hard, I believe you could even find some yuzu. Let me know what you find in this wine, and we can talk about that if you type quickly. All right.
Are you getting any comments?
Any questions?
No questions yet.
All right.
Everyone's really happy to be here with us.
Excellent, as am I. So, I guess without further ado, we'll move into the Le Reve. Okay, 2012 Le Reve. So, a little background on the Le Reve. Le Reve is our tête de cuvée. It's the best wine that we make. It's fashioned in the classic old world style of a tête de cuvée and of a Blanc de Blanc, where it is a method traditionnel Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay. It's made to be a wine with a sense of place, entirely off our estate in Carneros. It's also intended to be an age-worthy wine, which this one certainly is. Le Reve was started, Domaine Carneros started in 1987. Eileen Crane, our founding winemaker, who's still here to this day, was charged with making a Blanc de Blanc, one that was worthy of the Blanc de Blanc name for our estate. And she worked hard at it for quite a few years. And in 1991, Claude Tattager told her that if the next year's was as good as that year, we would release the inaugural Tête de Cuvée. So, as you may have guessed by now, 1992, the wine was even better. They came up with the custom bottle you see here with the ram's head chartreuse. It also has well, that's pretty much it. It's
We have a question for you, Zach.
All right, a question.
Ada is asking if you recommend swirling a sparkling wine when you taste it, or will that dissipate the bubbles?
I would say with sparkling wine, swirling it is a matter of preference, or probably more importantly, a matter of habit. The dissolved CO2 in the bottle, the bubbles that are coming to the surface will really raise the aromatics to the top. So you don't really need to swirl. I find that I do just merely out of habit. I don't think it's gonna, there's so much, so many little bubbles in a glass. A swirl is not gonna dissipate the the CO2 fast enough to be detrimental in any way. But as you can see, it's rising up and it's sending the aromatics up out of the glass. So not necessary, but not detrimental in any way. Thanks for the question, though. All right. Where was I? Le Rêve. Okay, we have the custom bottle. We also have the name, Le Rêve. We came up with Le Rêve, or if you're French, Le Rêve. So that is French for the dream, which is certainly an appropriate name for our Tête de Cuvée. We aged this one for a minimum of 6 years, and you know, this is really appropriate with a well-made Blanc de Blanc. As you can see, this is a 2012, so it's been aged an additional 2 years, and that's really just value added. So we've aged it for you. You're welcome. What else should we say about this wine?
I have another question.
Another question.
This question is from Kimberly. Kimberly would like to know more about the blending process for Le Rêve and the component breakdown.
The blending process. Well, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. So, no, in all seriousness, I mean, the Le Rêve, when we finish the harvest and we have the base wines, we are able to sit down with all of our wines. We have, you know, all of the Chardonnays, all of the Pinot Noirs separately, and we're able to taste through them. Obviously, this is 100% Chardonnay, so when we start on the Le Rêve, we're only focusing on the Chardonnay, and we're focusing on our best blocks of Chardonnay. Now, any given year, and we really go with what the vintage gives us, so any given year, some blocks may make it in the Le Rêve, and they may not, and blocks can make it in the Le Rêve some years and not others. It really just depends on the vintage. That being said, we have a couple blocks that make it nearly every year, and we have some, you know, we kind of have a second tier of blocks that are pretty solid. You know, we've got at this point 18 different clones of Chardonnay on 6 different ranches, 3 in Sonoma, 3 in Napa, some on rolling hills, some on flat ground, a variety of rootstock. There's just a really wide matrix of possibilities when we first sit down, but we're looking for the very best Chardonnay that is going to lend itself to an age-worthy wine. And so, you know, fortunately, we're able to come up with that. We make this in limited quantities, so we can be very picky on this particular blend, which we are. It's something that, you know, we take seriously. It's the first blend that we make because of that, so we have all of the tools at our disposal. I hope that answered your question. If not, follow-ups are welcome as well. Another one? All right. This is exciting.
Chris is wondering how long you can age it and what the additional age gives the wine.
Okay. Now we get into personal preference. So a Blanc de Blanc, I mean, we can go back and taste them into the late 80s. You know, they certainly change over that time. Unless the cork fails, a well-made Blanc de Blanc can age for decades. I would say, you know, your first 10 years, you know, and on a Blanc de Blanc, probably even a little longer than that. You probably have somewhere between 10 and 15 years that I would call the wine. The wine is going to continue to develop. Every year you can leave it down. Every year that you have the patience to not consume the bottle, the wine is going to develop further layers of complexity and flavors. And somewhere in that 10 to 15 year range is what I would deem it's in the fresh zone. You know, after that, the wine is still great, but if you go from, you know, call it, say we'll go to 12 years, let's just pick an arbitrary number. 12 years. It is going to be based on the vintage as well. Some years are going to age a little better than others, but generally they're going to age. Let's say the first 12 years you're in the fresh zone. The next, 12 years you kind of move into the wine's fine. The wine, unless the cork has failed, you're still going to have your bubbles. Sparkling wine has incredible acidity, and that's going to lend itself well to aging. But you're going to start to develop different flavor profile, and it's going to leave the fresh zone and go into more of a caramelized, even sometimes a little oxidized, and not overly oxidized, but you start to get some of those caramelization flavors. And some people love that, and some people don't like it so much. So you really go into a matter of personal preference. If you like that style, even if you don't like it, you just like the rarity of an old wine, then fair enough, But the wine will stay good for 30 years. We have 33 years on some of ours, and they're definitely different, but they're not dead. And so it's really a matter of preference as to where you think the aging where it's aged enough for you. I hope that answers your question. Yes. So should we get to the Lorève?
Taste it.
Let's taste it. All right, let's open it again. So we find the tab, we pick up the foil. How many half turns on the Muselet? That's right, 6. Glad you are listening. Always keep the cork covered. You don't want to lose an eye or a window. Chandelier. Okay, turn the bottle. I can feel the cork. It really wants to come out. It's been trapped too long. This is a 2012. There we go. Okay. A little for you. And a little for me. And then the Bouchon. So this is a Bouchon. Both of these are available from domaincarneris.com or One Day Again in our tasting room. This one is very simple, but I find people have a lot of trouble with it. So this is a good one to talk about. This one simply pops on and pops off. Yes, it will. I'm being told it won't fit on a Lorève bottle, but it will. So all it does is you just pop it on and pop it off. You don't have to twist it. You don't have to turn it. It pops on or pops off. It does have a locking mechanism as well. So if you pop it on, it's easiest to start on one side and just get it started, and then the other side just pops on. Now, if you want to lock it, if it's just sitting on the top of the tabletop until you finish the bottle, this is as far as I would go. If you're into that second bottle and you want to save it for tomorrow, although I'm not sure why you would do that with Lorève, but again, to each his own. I would lock it if I was putting it in the fridge just for safety reasons. And frankly, if you do lock it, you can lay it down on the shelf and it won't leak. And to lock it, you just push down and turn it clockwise. And you'll see that the Bouchon can't lock down a little bit. Now it's locked on there. I can't pop it off. I can't twist it off. The way you unlock it is to push down and turn counterclockwise, and you'll see it come up a little bit and leave those the little black, I don't know what you call it, but whatever latches around the top of the bottle. And then it can just pop off, a little pressure with your thumb on one side. So that's this Bouchon. Very handy, very convenient, but I have friends that still can't use them. So this was hopefully a good tutorial, locked, unlocked. But since we're just sitting here, that's good enough for me. Without further ado, let's try the wine. Le Rêve. I mean, it is the dream. It's like tasting a dream. So, tasting the stars, right? Wasn't that Dom Perignon's favorite quote and her famous quote? And yeah, I would agree with that. So the aromatics on this one, you know, the Le Rêve, it offers so much. It really depends on where it is. The 2012 was a very, very powerful year. It's one that, you know, again, it's aged a couple more years. It's developed quite a bit. You get some of that citrus right off the top, but there's even, you know, a creme brulee, almost a grilled pineapple. There's some really fun toastiness in this wine. I also should add that we don't use any oak in our sparkling wines, and so any of the toastiness or yeasty characteristic that toasted bread that we get, which is really more what I find in our wines, the brioche or the creme brulee, it comes just from aging, and you can't rush that. It just takes patience. But the good news is by the time we release it, we've done that aging for you, and it's ready to consume. It's also going to hold up very well if you hang on to it for, say, another 10 years. That's up to you, and probably a function of how many bottles you have and how long you're stuck in your house, quite frankly. So let's taste it. Now, I could just drink this whole bottle. That's just, again, it helps keep you sane. But I think a lot of the flavors from the nose carry on to the bottle. The anticipation we got from the nose carry, again, you know, that creme brulee is there. There's even that toasted brioche in the background. There's a honeycomb characteristic. And, you know, it's really fun to taste these side by side because you have a lot of the same Chardonnay characteristics in both of these wines, but you have a real seriousness and seriousness is probably the best word to use in the Le Rêve, whereas you get off on some of the I'd call them tropical notes for the Blanc De Blanc, a little bit more youthful maybe and approachable. Both very nice wines, but really this suits what you're having. Might also add sparkling wine, if you're not aware, this pairs with nearly everything. Le Rêve goes with everything. French fries, popcorn, filet mignon, anything in between, as all sparkling wines do. Of course, the classic oysters, any sort of shellfish. If you're out here in California, when Dungeness is in season, that's always a good one. But any sort of shellfish or fish in general, cheeses, especially bries or double or triple creams, those are always good. Goes great before a meal, with a meal, digestif, aperitif, nightcap, eye opener. There's never a wrong time for Le Rêve or for sparkling wine in general. Anything else?
We have one last question for you.
Okay, one last question.
This question is from Kristen. Kristen would like to know, what is your preferred style of glassware to drink sparkling in?
Ah, yes. This is a very hot topic lately. The classic style being the flute has kind of fallen out of favor. In recent years, I don't mind a flute. There's a very classic flavor profile in the flute, and you know, I kind of dig that classic flavor profile. Some people, when their choices are a flute or a white wine glass, will go to the white wine glass. It opens it up a lot more, and that's a fine choice. I go either way. I don't have strong opinions one way or another on those particular sets of glassware. I know some people do, and I really just go with the flow, whatever's available. My absolute favorite is what I'm drinking out of right now, and that's the Tulip. And it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's the flute at the bottom, yet it opens up more, closer to what a white wine glass would at the top. So you still have your focus of your bubbles down on the point like a flute would, yet it opens up not all the way, but enough to get to allow you to really stick your nose in there and, you know, get more of the aromatics. So this style is called a Tulip, and that's my favorite. It's right in between, the best of both worlds. That's the best way that I could describe it. Okay. Okay, so in conclusion, I will recap the wines that we had. The 2015 Blanc De Blanc just went out in the March club shipment for you club members, and you can always order more through the regular channels, phone, email, or our website, domaincarneros.com. And also the 2012 Le Rêve. This is our classic Blanc De Blanc, made in the old world Blanc De Blanc style. And I think that's it, right? So I hope you enjoyed this. Give us feedback. Let us know what worked, what didn't work. If you want to see more of this, I guess we have some time now, right? So let us know how things went and what you're thinking, and I'll try to answer all your questions. Stay safe. Most of all, stay sane. Thank you.